So some people, when there's fear or threat or danger in the workplace, the tendency is to protect one's image, just so that we keep our status or our reputation or our career. Next point is, when we're afraid, this can be manifested with adversarial competition. Yes, Mr. Tom says another word for self-protection is self-preservation. With regards to adversarial competition, of course, we know that there is healthy competition, but sometimes when we're afraid, we can even compete with our co-employees, with our subordinates, or even with our bosses, isn't it? A third response in the workplace to fear is fearful silence. So you know that saying that less said means less mistakes. So we would rather just keep quiet or probably just turn a blind eye to the things that's going around us. Next is crab mentality. So some people respond to fear, threat, or danger by putting others down. And do you know how crab mentality is done? Next, it's done by finger pointing or blaming. We're trying to find that person that we can put down. And that's very common in the workplace. And lastly, one manifestation of the culture of fear, threat, or danger in the workplace is by groupthink or herd mentality. That means that we just want to keep safe by playing along. We don't think out of the box. We don't think of creative things or innovation. We just play safe by going along with what's already happening in the group. So that's groupthink or herd mentality. So let's try to find out first, where did this concept of psychological safety come from? It's a buzzword, isn't it, these days, psychological safety. But actually, it began way back in 1965 with two people, namely Edgar Schein and Warren Bennis. And they already talked about psychological safety in their book entitled Personal and Organizational Change Through Group Methods, the Laboratory Approach. So can you imagine that? Some of us weren't born yet, but then they were already talking about psychological safety. And then you know what? 25 years later, this person picked up that concept. His name was William Kahn, and he defined psychological safety as the ability to express oneself without fear of negative consequences of self-image, status, or career. Now, Mr. Romel from our audience also shares that the fear can be real or imagined, isn't it? Yes, and you're right, Mr. Romel. Thank you for sharing that. And 9 years after William Kahn picked up the concept of psychological safety, Amy Edmondson applied the concept of psychological safety to team learning behaviors. So what Amy Edmondson did was to make a lot of research with regards to psychological safety. However, in 2012, next slide, this was when the concept of psychological safety really became a buzzword with the help of Google. Ma'am Grachi Canave also says that expectations, can cause fear. So in 2012, Google's Project Aristotle confirmed that psychological safety is the factor that contributes to successful teams. Now let's discuss the 5 factors that make a successful team. Number 5 on their list of Google's Project Aristotle is impactful work. So impactful work means that you believe that the work that you do is valuable and makes an impact on the overall results of your team. Number 4 is meaningful work. So the question here is, do you find satisfaction or meaning in the work that you're doing? Okay. The third factor that makes a team successful is having clear goals, clear roles, and clear plans. So everything is clear so that you can find your energies going towards that direction. And the second factor to make a successful team is dependability of team members. Isn't that great that everyone can be depended on in your team? However, in Google's Project Aristotle, the main factor that made the team successful was psychological safety.